We need more agility, not more resilience. Vance, your protocols are slowing us down. Lila Thorne's words sliced through the sterile air of the executive boardroom like a surgeon's scalpel. My name is Ethan Vance, 40 years old, lead systems architect at Aethelred Solutions in Seattle, Washington. For 9 years, I'd built and maintained the intricate software infrastructure that powered critical logistics networks for over 300 national clients. I'd seen 3 VPs of innovation come and go. Lila Thorne was the 4th, and after just 2 weeks, she'd already decided I was the problem. These redundancy measures are outdated, she continued, flipping through my quarterly system resilience assessment. We're losing deployment velocity. Our competitors are implementing new features twice as fast. I kept my voice level. Those competitors have also experienced significant network outages. Everyone faces outages, but our clients rely on us for uninterrupted service, not just flashy updates. It's about rapid recovery, not absolute prevention. Lila waved her hand dismissively. The 6 other team leads nodded along. Nobody wanted to contradict the new boss. Nobody except me. Our clients trust us specifically because we haven't had a major outage in 7 years, I stated. The national logistics sector has different requirements than... Lila's smile didn't reach her eyes. Cisco, FedEx, UPS. I'm familiar with critical infrastructure requirements, Ethan. What she didn't understand was that our system wasn't standard. I'd built custom resilience layers after the board refused to invest in off-the-shelf enterprise solutions. Proprietary failover rules, custom data synchronization patterns, a homegrown anomaly detection system, all documented, but the documentation was sparse because they'd never approved time for proper knowledge transfer. I'd like to walk you through why these particular. We don't have time for that today. Lila closed her laptop. Everyone stretched thin getting the new autonomous routing module ready. Let's table the resilience discussion. After the meeting, Maya Sharma from product development caught me in the hallway. You okay? That was rough. I'm Fina. I wasn't. Lila's just trying to make her mark, she said. Give her time to settle in. But 3 days later, I found my access to the core system monitoring server restricted. When I asked about it, the help desk said it was a new policy directive from the VP's office. System logs were being consolidated into the general IT monitoring system, a system I'd repeatedly flagged as inadequate for detailed forensic analysis. That night, I backed up my documentation and system notes to my personal drive. Not company data, just my processes, methods, and architecture diagrams. Something told me I might need it soon. The next morning, my personal dashboard showed 3 unusual traffic spikes flagged by my custom monitoring tool. Nobody else seemed to notice. I'd come to Aethelred after 5 years at a government contractor. Back then, the company was a scrappy startup with ambitious founders and more vision than funding. I was employee number 26. Now, we had over 300 people across 2 office buildings. My dad had been skeptical when I left my stable government-adjacent job for a startup in that economy. But I believed in what we were building. Reliable, resilient logistics data management before smart city became a buzzword. I'd taken a pay cut to join, compensated with equity that would be worth something if we succeeded. And we did. For years, I worked 80-hour weeks building our systems architecture. While other team leads fought for budget and headcount, I made do with less, developing custom solutions when we couldn't afford off-the-shelf products. The compromise was always the same. I'd build it myself, but there was never time to properly document or train others. That's a bottleneck. Our previous VP of Innovation, Dr. Ethan Vance, had warned. What happens if you get hit by a bus? Then whoever replaces me better be good at reading code comments. I joked. Dr. Vance understood the technical debt we were accumulating, but he protected me from the board's constant push for faster releases and more features. We had a rhythm. I'd identify risks. He'd translate them to business impact, and we'd find compromises that kept our system's posture strong. Then Aethelred got acquired by Veritas Holdings. Dr. Vance was replaced by Lila Thorne, whose mandate was clear: accelerate growth. streamline operations, unlock trapped value, as she put it in her all-hands introduction. Within a month, I noticed the changes. Resilience reviews were shortened to accommodate more aggressive release cycles. Stress tests were rescheduled, then scaled back. My team's authorization requests for system upgrades were deprioritized. Maya saw it too. Over lunch in the courtyard, she confided, "They're pushing our sprint capacity to the breaking point. QA is getting squeezed to meet deadlines." "What about the reliability requirements?" I asked. "We can't cut corners there." She shrugged. "Lila says we're reinterpreting the requirements." Her words, not mine. That evening, my direct report, Ben, stopped by my desk. "Something weird," he said. "I got questioned about our failover rule update process. Lila wants to know why changes take so long to implement." "Did you explain the testing requirements?" "Yeah, but she kept asking if there were workarounds we could use for emergency situations." After Ben left, I sat staring at my monitor. 9 years of careful work, and now they wanted shortcuts. I could feel it all beginning to unravel. The calendar invite came on Thursday morning. Systems restructuring discussion. Ethan Vance, Lila Thorne, conference room B, 2 p.m. I spent the morning checking my system dashboards one last time. Everything was running as designed. The custom alert system I'd built was monitoring for unusual access patterns. The segmentation between client network segments was intact. The backup verification tests were all green. At 2 p.m. sharp, I walked into conference room B. Lila was already there with Sarah from HR. "Ethan, have a seat." Her tone was professional, empty. "I'll get straight to the point. We're restructuring the system operations model, transitioning to a more distributed approach." I said nothing. The presence of HR told me everything I needed to know. "Your position as centralized systems architect is being eliminated," she continued. "We're embedding systems functions within each product team. Who will maintain the core infrastructure?" I asked. "We're moving to cloud-native tools with third-party management," Lila explained. "More scalable, less dependent on tribal knowledge." Tribal knowledge. My 9 years of building custom solutions to ensure client data integrity reduced to an organizational anti-pattern. Sarah slid a folder across the table. "This outlines the severance package. 2-month salary, extended health benefits, and accelerated vesting of your equity from the acquisition." I opened the folder, scanned the numbers. Fair, even generous. This decision had been made well above Lila's level. She was just a messenger. "We'll need your access cards and credentials before you leave today," Lila added. "Ben will handle any knowledge transfer over the next 2 weeks. You don't need to come in, but be available by phone." "Ben doesn't know the entire system," I said. "Nobody does except me." Lila's expression hardened slightly. "Everything's documented, Ethan. We've reviewed your wikis and repositories." "Documented, yes. But understanding the documentation required context I'd never had time to provide. The board had repeatedly denied my requests for a proper knowledge transfer project. Move faster. We'll clean it up later, had been the refrain for years. "Understand," I said, closing the folder. I wrote down my passwords on a notepad. Domain admin, VPN, system console, monitoring systems. 9 years of protecting this company's infrastructure distilled into 8 credential sets. Lila nodded as I pushed the notepad across the table. "I know change is hard, but this is the right direction for the company." I handed over my access card and stood up. "I hope you're right." Walking out through the lobby, I passed the wall of framed awards and press mentions. Aethelred Solutions, the nation's most reliable logistics platform, 7 years running. My work, my legacy. I didn't feel anger, just a hollow certainty that they'd made a catastrophic mistake. Not firing me. Companies reorganize all the time. The mistake was thinking they understood what they were dismantling. In my car, I turned off my phone and drove to Lake Union. I sat watching the water for an hour, calculating how long it would take before the first critical incident. Not if, but when. 2 days later, my prediction came true faster than even I had anticipated. My personal phone lit up with text from Ben. "Systems acting weird. Multiple alert triggers. Can you call?" I stared at the message. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to let Lila discover firsthand what happens when you dismantle infrastructure you don't understand. But 9 years of professional instinct won out. I called Ben. "Thank God," he answered. "We got unusual traffic patterns on the main routing gateway. The monitoring system is flagging it, but nobody knows what to do." "What's Lila saying?" I asked. "She's in meetings with the board all day. The IT team is saying it's probably just a false positive from the automated rule updates." Automated rule updates that I had designed to adapt to emerging threat patterns. If they were triggering alerts, something was wrong. "Did anyone check the second-level verification logs?" I asked. Silence. "The what?" I closed my eyes. "Ben, there's a secondary validation system that confirms alert patterns before raising flags. If both systems are triggering, it's not a false positive. Where do I find that?" I walked him through accessing the hidden dashboard. The credentials weren't in my handover notes because it was a system I'd built during a weekend hackathon 3 years ago. It had caught 2 potential outages since then. "Oh," Ben whispered. "Both systems are lit up like Christmas trees. You need to isolate the main routing gateway immediately," I said. "Power down the external connection and fail over to the backup line." I don't have that authorization," Ben replied. "Nobody gave me the admin rights to network hardware." Of course, they hadn't. In their rush to remove me, they'd forgotten to transfer the full scope of my access. "You need to get Lila or someone from senior IT," I said. "I'll try. Can you come in just to help sort this out?" I hesitated. "That's not my job anymore, Ben." "Please, Ethan. I don't know what I'm doing here." Part of me wanted to help. The other part knew better. "Call Lila. Tell her exactly what I told you. I'll be available if she wants to contact me directly." 3 hours later, Lila called. "Ethan." Her voice was tight. "We're having some system issues." I heard. "Ben seems to think it's serious. Our regular monitoring isn't showing much." That's because the regular monitoring wasn't designed to catch sophisticated intrusions. I'd built a separate system for that. "What do you want from me, Ethan?" She cleared her throat. "We could use your insight. Maybe a phone consultation. You want me to consult on the system you just decided wasn't necessary?" "No one said reliability wasn't necessary," she replied sharply. "We're restructuring how it's managed." "How's that working out so far?" The line went quiet for a moment. "We're prepared to pay your contractor rate for assistance." I smiled grimly. "My contractor rate is $800 per hour, 4-hour minimum, paid up front, plus a signed statement acknowledging that I'll have no liability for outcomes." I expected her to balk. Instead, she simply said, "I'll have the paperwork drawn up. How soon can you start?" "I can't," I replied. "I've accepted another position. Non-compete clause in my severance prevents me from accessing your systems now that I'm joining a different critical infrastructure firm." This was a lie. I hadn't accepted another job yet, and the non-compete had exemptions for consulting work. But Lila didn't know that. "Ethan, this is serious." "Yes," I agreed. "It is." I ended the call and turned my phone off again. Whatever was happening at Aethelred, it wasn't my problem anymore. They had made their choice. The next morning, I checked the tech news sites out of habit. Nothing about Aethelred yet. But by noon, the first headline appeared on a cybersecurity blog. Logistics data firm Aethelred Solutions investigating potential network incident. My phone had 7 missed calls from various Aethelred numbers. 3 from Lila, 2 from Ben, 1 from Maya, and 1 from a number I didn't recognize. I listened to the voicemails. "Lila, Ethan, we need to talk. The situation has escalated. Call me back immediately." "Ben, Ethan, it's bad. Really bad. Someone's in the system and we can't lock them out. Please call." The last voicemail was from Mr. Arthur Sterling, Aethelred CEO. "Ethan, this is Arthur. Whatever happened between you and Lila? We need your help right now. Our client's operations are at risk. Please call me directly." I sat at my kitchen table, coffee growing cold. 9 years building a resilient system, and it had taken less than 72 hours for it to be compromised after I left. Not because the system was flawed, but because no one understood how to maintain it. I called Arthur back. Thank God. He answered. "Ethan, we have a situation." "I've heard," I replied. "What's happening exactly?" Someone's in our systems. They've bypassed the perimeter controls somehow. It says they're moving between client network segments, but they can't figure out how. Lila says something about the internal segmentation failing. The internal segmentation. My custom-built data isolation system that prevented lateral movement between client repositories. It was designed to automatically lock down if it detected unusual access patterns. Has the autolock triggered? I asked. Silence. What autolock? I closed my eyes. Arthur, there's an automatic quarantine system built into the segmentation controls. If unauthorized movement is detected, it should isolate each client database automatically. No one's mentioned any quarantine system. Hold on. I heard muffled conversation. Then Arthur came back. Lila says there's nothing in the documentation about an auto-quarantine because the board had repeatedly cut my requests to properly document the systems. Emergency custom solution. They'd called it when approving the bare minimum budget. We'll properly resource it later. Later never came. The system exists, I said. I built it 3 years ago after the gridlock incident. More muffled conversation. Then Lila's voice came on the line. Ethan, where exactly is this quarantine system? We can't find it in any of the infrastructure diagrams. It's not in the diagrams because it was implemented as an emergency measure during the system incident 3 years ago. The board approved it as a temporary solution that became permanent. Check the minutes from the emergency board meeting in August. Another pause. We're looking. Yes, here it is. Approved emergency resilience measures as proposed by Vance. But there are no technical details because the board didn't want technical details. They wanted the problem solved. I could almost hear Lila's frustration through the phone. Can you just tell us how to activate it? It should activate automatically. If it hasn't, something's been changed in the configuration. Nothing's been changed, Lila insisted. I thought for a moment. Check the scheduled tasks on the system management server. There's a verification job that runs every 6 hours to confirm the quarantine system is operational. A few minutes of silence. Then, the task is there, but it's disabled. Who disabled it? I asked, already knowing the answer. Lila's voice was quiet. It was disabled as part of the system restructuring. We consolidated scheduled tasks to reduce system overhead. They had dismantled my systems piece by piece, not understanding how the components work together. Now, they were facing the consequences. While Aethelred's nightmare unfolded, I received a LinkedIn message from Dr. Evelyn Reed, CTO at Ironclad Dynamics. Heard you might be available. We should talk. Ironclad was one of the top infrastructure resilience firms in the country. I'd followed their work for years, admired their approach. The message couldn't have been better timed. We met for coffee that afternoon at a small cafe in Pike Place Market. Evelyn was straightforward. Word travels fast in our circles. Aethelred's situation is unfortunate. I sipped my coffee. I don't know the details. I'm not there anymore. She nodded. Of course, but I know your reputation. 9 years, no critical outages. That's impressive. Until now, I said. From what I hear, the outage happened after significant changes to your system architecture. Changes you didn't implement. I didn't ask how she knew that. The resilience community was small, and news traveled quickly. We're expanding our critical infrastructure practice, she continued. We need someone who understands the unique challenges, someone who's built custom solutions and knows how to manage complex systems infrastructures. The job offer was generous. Double my Aethelred salary, plus equity, with a team of 8 systems engineers reporting to me. The catch? I had to start immediately. I should tell you, I said. My severance includes a non-compete clause. Evelyn smiled. Our legal team has reviewed standard Aethelred severance agreements. The non-compete only applies to directly competing logistics data services, not resilience consulting firms. We're not a competitor to Aethelred. We'd potentially be a vendor to them. That evening, as I was reviewing Ironclad's offer letter, my phone rang again. Aethelred's main switchboard number. Hello, Ethan. It's Maya. Have you seen the news? I hadn't. I opened my laptop and checked the major tech sites. The headlines were everywhere now. Aethelred Solutions confirms major network outage. Client operations compromised. Logistics services firm Aethelred suffers catastrophic system failure. Aethelred stock plummets 28% following confirmation of network breach. How bad? I asked. Bad, Maya replied. The intruders got into at least 40 client networks before we managed to shut down external access completely. The system is in chaos. Nobody can figure out how to restore the resilience controls properly. What's Lila saying? Lila's not saying anything. She's in nonstop crisis meetings with the board. They've called in an external incident response firm, an external firm that would have to decipher my custom system architecture with no documentation and no background. They'd figure out eventually, but it would take time. Time during which Aethelred's reputation was being destroyed. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it for everyone affected. It's not your fault. Maya said, you try to warn them. The next morning, I signed Ironclad's offer letter. By noon, I was sitting in their downtown Seattle office, getting set up with new equipment. My first assignment: help develop a post-outage recovery framework for critical infrastructure. That evening, I received one final text from Arthur Sterling. The board would like to discuss bringing you back. Name your terms. I didn't respond. Some bridges, once burned, should stay that way. Instead, I emailed Evelyn my first draft of the recovery framework. The subject line: preventing the next Aethelred. 1 month after the outage, I was settling into my role at Ironclad when Bloomberg published an investigative piece titled The Dismantling of Aethelred: How Cost-Cutting Compromised Critical Infrastructure. The article detailed how Aethelred's new management had systematically stripped away resilience controls in pursuit of faster development cycles. Internal emails obtained by the reporters showed Lila had disabled key system mechanisms despite warnings from the IT staff. Ben was quoted anonymously, describing how my custom architecture had been dismantled without proper understanding. The most damning revelation came from board meeting minutes. 3 years earlier, I had requested budget for proper documentation and knowledge transfer of the systems. The request had been denied 6 consecutive quarters, labeled as non-essential administrative overhead. That same day, 3 of Aethelred's largest clients publicly announced they were terminating their contracts. Their press releases cited irreconcilable concerns about operational stability and loss of trust in Aethelred system governance. I didn't need to watch the stock price to know what was happening. LinkedIn told the story as Aethelred employees began updating their profiles en masse, signaling the exodus. Lila Thorne updated her profile too. Strategic Technology Advisor. It now read, no company listed. Her tenure at Aethelred had lasted less than 3 months. At Ironclad, we received inquiries from several former Aethelred clients looking for resilience advisory services. During one call, a client CIO asked if I had been involved in Aethelred's original architecture. Yes, I answered simply. We thought so, he replied. That's why we're calling you first. I took no pleasure in Aethelred's downfall. A company I'd helped build was crumbling, and hundreds of good people would lose their jobs. But I felt a quiet vindication. Reliability wasn't just overhead to be cut. It was foundational. 6 months later, Ironclad had grown its critical infrastructure practice dramatically. Many of our new clients were former Aethelred customers, and several of my old colleagues had joined our team. Ben was now my senior systems engineer. Maya led our client communications department. Aethelred itself had been acquired for a fraction of its former value, essentially purchased for its client list and technology patents. The brand name was retired. The network outage. A cautionary tale in business school case studies. I ran into Arthur Sterling at an industry conference in Vancouver. We found ourselves alone at the hotel bar after the day's sessions. No hard feelings? He asked, raising his glass. None, I answered truthfully. Business decisions have consequences, some more than others. He nodded. For what it's worth, I fought against those changes. Got outvoted. That's boards for you, I said. Your new firm seems to be doing well. We are. Arthur finished his drink. You know what the irony is? We're paying Ironclad 3 times your salary for resilience consulting now. I smiled slightly. The cost of stability always gets paid, either up front or after the fact. After is always more expensive. As he left, Arthur paused. Lila landed at Verdant Systems, pushing the same move fast philosophy. Good luck to them, I said. Back in Seattle, I walked into Ironclad's offices on Monday morning to find Evelyn waiting with news. Verdant Systems suffered a critical incident over the weekend. Their chief operations officer is requesting emergency assistance. Want to take the lead on this one? She asked. I shook my head. Send the junior team. They need the experience. That afternoon, I finalized our new client onboarding documentation. Clear, comprehensive, meticulously detailed. The section title, Understanding the Full System Architecture. The Foundation of Trust. My father had been right about one thing. Job security isn't about where you work. It's about being the person who knows how to prevent disasters that others don't even see coming.